Hi, Pam.
How you feeling? A little better?
I'm feeling better today. Every day is just a little bit better. So
That's what I understand. And it's a slog.
it is.
Oh, that's
For a
the
while, it was like I'd feel better and then I'd crash. And I haven't crashed, knock on wood, I haven't crashed today and I'm feeling good. So
yeah, well, the problem is that we just want to get back
Yeah.
to doing, and you can't. You
No.
just got to let your body take time for itself.
Yeah.
It's something that's so easy to say and
I
not
know.
easy to do.
They wanted me in the office today, and I was like, "No, you really don't. I'm not ready to be back in the office. Trust me."
Really, unless you want somebody to carry me out, put me in the car, and bring me home.
Exactly.
No, that's not a good thing.
No.
Just take your time.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm letting folks in as we go. And I will stop sharing my screen.
To say your speaker is not working. Please check your connection. Your speaker's not working. Please check your connection.
My speaker's not working?
So why wouldn't my
both of
speaker
you.
work,
Can you hear
Jerry?
us, Julie?
I can hear you both.
Okay.
Julie, can you hear us?
Mm-hmm.
Not true.
Your speaker's not working.
Is your speaker on?
Your speakers or your microphone is working, Julie.
Yeah.
Join the meeting yet?
No, I'm in. See, I've seen everybody.
Okay.
And she just promoted me to being webinars being recorded.
Okay. Click on your picture. You should have ability to do some. Go to the view. You do. This is just. Go to Galley.
It was on full screen.
Go here to the top. Okay. So now, where are you at? Okay. So click on your picture. You're open.
But why does it say? See, I can't hear anybody anymore. I could hear everybody.
Can you hear us? No, nobody's talking. Can you hear us now, Julie?
Oh, stop video. Where?
Hi, Julie. Julie. Hi. Yes, you can.
Where's my phone? No, it worked yesterday.
Take your.
Can it's the screen isn't, it's the camera that's looking at me. I don't know.
Turn the log off. Come back on.
How do I?
Go back to speaker. Move it down the bottom.
Can you hear us now?
Oh. Speaker's not working. Use a different speaker for connection.
James, ask her, maybe she's got a headset. Shall we wait? Shall I wait, James, for a minute or two? Or should we go ahead?
They're looking for a headset. I mean, it may be helpful to wait just a minute or two, just since this is first up on the agenda.
Let's, all for it.
Thanks for being flexible.
Oh, no worries. Hi, Julie, can you hear us? Welcome, everyone. We're gonna give just a few more minutes. Wish I had some lovely hold music for you all.
You know, when we were in the thick of COVID and I would watch Andrew Cuomo every day because I was so excited, and at least he made me feel like somebody knew what was going on.
Yeah.
They had this lovely hold music underneath, you know, just a slide that said, "We'll be coming to you shortly." And it made me feel so much better. Anyway, I've been thinking about how to have
Yeah.
some Just some non-offensive, pretty little hold music underneath everything. But that thought had occurred to me, Rose.
I appreciate you, Pam Jordan.
Thank you.
Any sign of Julie coming back in, Pam?
It looks like she's in the attendees. I can help with promoting her.
Fantastic.
That would be great.
Okay. I could see Julie's a panelist. Julie, can you hear us?
She has been muted. I can unmute her and see. I can ask her to
Yeah,
unmute.
okay.
Hi, Julie, can you hear us?
I can hear you now.
Yay, all right.
Can you see
Welcome.
me?
I can't see you, but I can hear you.
Okay,
All
I'm
right.
so sorry.
No worries. Let's see here. So this, my pretend gavel here at home, this meeting of the Centennial School Board is called to order at 6:38 p.m. on 6/8/22, and a quorum is present. Hello and welcome, everyone. Next up, let's see, we've got the approval of the agenda. The meeting agenda has been distributed in board book. Are there any amendments to the agenda needed? Hearing none, is there a motion to present the motion to approve the agenda as presented? Thank you.
Motion to pass the agenda as presented.
Second,
All of those in favor say aye, raise your hand.
Aye.
The agenda is approved unanimously. I'd now like to turn it over to Superintendent Owen to introduce any guests.
Great. I'm going to subsequently turn it over to Chief Swenson to introduce the Triple C recognees this evening. So Chief Swenson, go ahead and take it away.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen, and then Pam Jordan, at some point during the slides and the presentation, the nominators will have an opportunity to speak. So there are some nominators in the attendees. If you could let them in, that would be great. If you need the list sent to you, again, just let me know. I'm happy to do that.
That would be great.
Okay, I'll do that right now.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. It is an honor to present tonight the Triple C Award recipients for 2022. Each year, Centennial presents Triple C Awards to honor employees who set a high standard for others through their caring, commitment, and/or creativity, and who make a difference every day. The awards serve as a way to show the general public the positive efforts put forth by employees who go above and beyond the scope of their positions. This year's recipients include Kathy Field, an educational assistant at Pleasant Valley Elementary School, and Julie Fife, the receptionist at the Centennial District Office. Both individuals were nominated by their colleagues as exemplary employees of the highest caliber who work every day to support Centennial in being the best it can be. First, I'd like to congratulate Kathy Field, who has been with the Centennial School District since 1988. Kathy's nominators described her as a trusted colleague who demonstrates integrity, a positive attitude, kindness, patience, and dedication. One of Kathy's nominators shared, Kathy Field has been one of the most caring, hardworking, and enthusiastic educational assistants I have worked with in PE in the past 20 years. She goes above and beyond with her efforts to help students with special needs to engage, participate, and have a fun PE experience. Another added, Kathy has such a heart for both the students and staff and goes the extra mile to ensure that things can go smoothly for those who she works with. It is easy to observe how experienced and knowledgeable Kathy is in her interactions with students, especially those with special needs. Another nominator shared, Kathy Field seeks out opportunities for her students to interact with each lesson in accessible but challenging ways. Her words are nothing but kind, patient, and encouraging. And now I'd like to open up the opportunity for those that nominated Kathy Field to share a few words about why they nominated her for this special award.
Can you please let me know who I should unmute?
Go ahead, Laura.
Pam, our PV staff kind of asked me to speak. If Michelle Baker in the attendees is interested in saying anything after me, we would welcome that as well. So I would really like to say, Kathy, we are just so fortunate to have you on staff. She has been giving us the gift of her kindness and flexibility, expertise, and knowledge for a very long time, about 33 years in the district to be exact. So, I mean, that's pretty amazing. And she does all of these wonderful things with humility, and she leads by example. I think we would all say that we have been blessed to learn from Kathy and to have her be a part of our team. So we're really happy to be a part of this event to honor you, Kathy, and we thank you so much. You are so appreciated. I'm Laura Nixon, principal at Pleasant Valley, for those of you who don't know me. Thanks for having us tonight.
Thank you, Laura. And Michelle Baker, you're welcome to share a few words if you would like to.
I was only the person in charge of putting together all of the wonderful comments and reflections and just all the wonderful things that everyone at PV had to say about Kathy. She is just a wonderful colleague, and I think we all just hope we could all be a little bit more like Kathy. So I was just really just the person that put together all of the wonderful things that everyone had to say about her. So congratulations, Kathy.
Thank you, Michelle. And so thank you to Laura and Michelle for sharing about Kathy's impact in her role. And now I'd like to offer Kathy the opportunity to speak about the receipt of this award, if you'd like to, Kathy.
Hi, everyone. I gotta get the lump out of my throat. I just would like to say that it's an honor to receive the award, and it's been wonderful working with the staff and teachers at Pleasant Valley, and the kids are great too. And I guess I just kind of look at it as every student has the potential to learn, and I just try to do my best to help the teachers and help the children to do that and reach their goals. And hopefully we get there eventually. But once again, thank you, everybody. I'm truly touched, and I do appreciate it.
Thank you, Kathy. We appreciate you. Next, I'd like to congratulate our other CCC Award recipient, Julie Fife, who has been with Centennial for over 25 years. Julie's nominators described her as cheerful, patient, welcoming, kind, respectful, enthusiastic, professional, and knowledgeable. A staff member who has worked with Julie for the past 17 years shared, Julie goes above and beyond for staff, students, and families in Centennial School District. As the receptionist at the district office, Julie is often the first Centennial staff member people come in contact with, and she is consistently friendly and helpful. One nominator expressed that Julie is the, quote, smile of Centennial, end quote. And another nominator said she is, quote, the voice when people need help and the smile that's always there for you, end quote. Another nominator shared that Julie demonstrates professionalism, care, and courtesy, all critical elements that can make a difference in the experience of Centennial School District's patrons. And now I'd like to open up the opportunity for those that nominated Julie Fife to share a few words about why they nominated her for this special award. And feel free to go ahead and unmute yourself.
If I may jump in, my name is Sonia Nelson Carranza. I work at the district office as a federal programs administrator. I've worked at the district office for about 3 years now, but I've known Julie for a really long time. And no matter where you're located, you know Julie because she helps you out. She's the face of Centennial. Anything that you need, she is more than willing to help you do it. And she does so with such grace and care and warmth. One of the highlights of my day, and I'm not exaggerating here, is just passing by Julie and saying hello and seeing her big smile. Julie, thank you so much for all that you do and continue to do for our students, for our community, for our staff. It is a pleasure to work alongside of you. I appreciate you, I see you, and I so value you. Thank you.
We have some other nominators as panelists. It looks like Lori, you're next. Go ahead.
Yes, I've worked with Julie for 17 years, and I think the one thing that I've noticed the most is her consistency and her friendliness, her helpfulness. She every day bounces back from what might be some uncomfortable phone calls or some uncomfortable conversations she had to have with either a parent or a staff member. And she comes back with a smile. She's just always willing to put herself out there. She helps staff with anything and everything that we need. It's just, it's a real privilege to work with Julie. And I really do feel like she is the face, the representative of Centennial.
Thank you, Lori. Would any other nominator like to share?
Can I go ahead and share?
Yes, please, Margaret.
Okay. I've worked with Julie for quite a while, and I came from a school, so I knew her from the school, and she always had a smile on her face, and she was always good to all the kids and the staff at the school. And now I kind of sit behind her at the district office, so I hear a lot of the uncomfortable phone calls that she has. And she always does it, and you can tell she's smiling while she's talking to them, even when she's extremely frustrated, but she always gives them answers and she helps them. And she walks them step by step through everything that she needs or that the person needs. And she's just always friendly and always there for you.
Thank you, Margaret. And it looks like that includes the nominators that chose to be panelists this evening. And so thank you to each of you that shared Julie's impact in Centennial and why you nominated her for this special award. And now I'd like to offer Julie the opportunity to speak about the receipt of this award if she'd like to.
You know, Cassie, before you do that, I was waiting for people.
Oh, I'm sorry, James. Go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to give other people the opportunity.
Yep, go ahead.
James Owens, superintendent, and I was one of the nominators as well. And I had asked Julie at one point what the secret was to sounding so cheerful on the phone, because as Margaret just indicated, people who call the district office call for a variety of reasons. Often it's for information, but as you can imagine, there are phone calls that are people who are not happy with something that's happened at the school level. And so Julie does just such a wonderful job of helping to just regulate the conversation and redirect folks to a more positive and constructive demeanor. And her secret was that when she answers the phone, she smiles because people can see the smile through the phone. And it's just that little touch of professionalism and care and courtesy that I think makes such a big difference. And I've known Julie for about 20 years now, and she's just has deep roots into the community. I knew her not in this current role, but as volunteer water polo coach, and was able to coach one of her sons back in about 2001. And so when I came with my fresh teaching degree in hand to the district office and said, I want to be a teacher in Centennial, and came in, I remember it was 2005, and there was Julie behind the desk, and she remembered me and had a big smile and, put a star on my application and everything. And I thought I was a shoo-in, but wasn't able to land a teaching job. So I needed to go find a neighboring district to work. But when I came back in 2012 to be a principal in the district, I walked in with my resume in hand, and there was Julie again. And so, when you're a nervous applicant for a job and you're coming in, seeing somebody with such a kind, friendly, reassuring face and so welcoming was just a nice touch. So I just want to reinforce and echo what other people had said. And it was, to me, it was not a matter of if, but when Julie was going to earn this recognition. So I'm glad to see that happening for her, and was grateful to be a part of the nominating committee.
Thank you, Superintendent Owens. Right, Julie.
It's an honor. It's a little bit embarrassing. It's a little bit uncomfortable to hear people say nice things about you. And I know that every year we could have 30 different people who would really deserve to be honored. And so I just want to say thank you. And just thank you. It's a big deal. It's a big deal in my mind. And so thank you. Everybody's such a pleasure to work with. So that makes a difference. Thank you, Sonia. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Julie. Congratulations to you and Kathy. So let's give a round of applause. I guess we could do the Zoom style for this year's CCC Award recipients, Julie Fife and Kathy Fields. We appreciate all they do to show care, commitment, and creativity as valued staff members of Centennial School District. Thank you.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you so much. James, it looks like it's back to you. Would you like to introduce the next item?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's my pleasure to introduce Chad Smith, who is our interim athletic director, and he will be helping to recognize our spring athletes whose season's just concluded. So we're happy to have Chad, and he was able to team up with Pam Jordan on the recognition this evening. So I'm happy to have both of them share the recognition that they've put together with our board and audience tonight. So Chad, feel free to take it away.
I appreciate you guys having me here. Thank you, Superintendent Owens, for that introduction. Yeah, Pam Jordan really did a great job in making this kind of a slideshow video to recognize our league athletes for our spring sports. So you have sports like softball, baseball, track, boys and girls tennis as well. And so she's going to go ahead and cue that video up. But I appreciate you guys being here, and I hope you guys enjoy the video.
I have asked Cassie, to see if she can roll the video, because I am technically challenged. So hopefully she can roll it. And if she can't, I'll figure out how.
All right, Pam, we're all queued up. Here we go.
Thank
And it looks like it ended there. Is that the correct ending point, Chad?
Yep, that is it. Again,
Okay.
I appreciate you guys doing that, and thanks for supporting our student athletes.
I wish I could put a dissolve on it so it would go to black, but I haven't figured that out yet. But yes, that's the ending point.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, everybody. It's really wonderful to get to celebrate our students, our student athletes, and our staff who just continue to shine in the world. And so grateful for all of you. Next up on the agenda is approval of the meeting minutes. So the previous meeting minutes were distributed in board book. Are there any corrections or amendments needed? Hearing none, can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's unanimous. The minutes are approved as presented. Pulling up, I'm working with multiple screens here today, so you'll have to forgive me. All right, let's see. Public forum time. So have we received any comments, Director Southerton or Pam Jordan, on the budget?
None that I know of, ma'am. I haven't seen any, no.
That's correct. We have not received any additional comments from the finance office either.
Excellent. Then I will let this close out the public forum of the budget section.
Chair Solowski, we may, as just a point, need to formally open a budget hearing in comment, announcing that we're opening a budget hearing, and then ask for comments and then close the budget hearing, just for documentation that it was an official budget hearing.
Excellent. So at this point, we will open for any comments for the budget hearing? Director Shields?
I just want to commend Director Southerton and his staff. The budget hearing and budget meetings that we'd had were just so thorough, and the opportunity to give input like we did, and the ability to read through all of the responses to the input that all 14 members of the budget committee, it was just really well done, and no stone unturned or no question unanswered. So I want to express my appreciation for the process.
Thank you so much, Director Shields. Any other comments? Great. At this point, we will close the budget hearing. Next up on our agenda is reports. At this point, I would like to turn it over to Superintendent Owens.
Great, thank you. So tonight I am going to keep things short and low tech, and to recognize the fact that we've got graduation tomorrow night. We've had board meeting tonight. Last night was senior awards night, and some of us were participating in Powell Butte principal interviews on Monday night. So there's just a lot going on this week. So I want to make sure to be efficient with time, but I'll share some highlights as well. So speaking of senior awards night, last night I had the privilege of attending the senior awards program at Centennial High School, and this was to recognize seniors who were receiving honor cords, scholarships, and other awards. A highlight of the evening were the 13 valedictorians who got to share their honored educator, which is a nice tradition that we do here in Centennial. Each of the valedictorians got to share about one teacher in their K-12 experience that made a particular impact, and those teachers are on hand to be recognized in front of the audience. One of those teachers happened to be Adrienne Harden, Director Harden's wife, so that was a fun moment to be a part of as well. And I got the privilege of being able to recognize the 18 Dave Kruger Scholarship Award winners, and so that was just a fun experience. As a brief reminder, the Centennial High School and Centennial Virtual Academy graduation is tomorrow, Thursday, June 9th at 7 p.m. And you have received some additional instructions via the high school, via Pam Jordan. And just to reinforce those, if you're attending, please plan to arrive about an hour early at 6 for staging and rehearsal. You may also want to pad in a little extra travel time, as traffic can be heavy and unpredictable in the Rose Quarter area, as you probably know. If you haven't already done so, please make sure to connect with Pam Jordan with regard to graduation and parking tickets. And I want to offer my congratulations to our seniors who have navigated and persevered through a high school experience that none of us here could have imagined for them, and didn't experience ourselves. From having school shut down during the spring of their sophomore year to various forms of distance learning and hybrid learning, to layered mitigation protocols this year and so on, our high school seniors have been through a lot. So for this and for their various accomplishments, academic and otherwise, I want to offer my gratitude and admiration to our senior class. While we're on the topic of graduations, the Centennial Transition Center graduation will be occurring this Friday, June 10th from 1:30 to 3 p.m. at the CTC, or the Transition Center, which is located at 2632 Southeast 162nd. That's basically close to the intersection of 162nd and Division. As a brief reminder, the CTC serves students with individualized education plans, or IEPs, who have graduated with alternative diplomas. The purpose of the program is to support young adults in their transition to life after high school. And the key focus of CTC is to help young adults build independence and quality of life, with an emphasis on preparing students for independent living, employment, and linking them to appropriate community and adult services. This year, I believe there's 6 graduates who will be recognized. Board members are invited to attend, and we'll be sure to extend the calendar invite to you by the end of the day tomorrow, just in case you're available to attend. As a reminder, the spring 2022 report to the community was sent by mail to all community members living within district boundaries. Chief Swenson and I were able to troubleshoot why residents in the Clackamas County were not previously receiving them. And so residents in Clackamas County had theirs mailed on Monday. so they should be arriving in their mailboxes later this week. The report to the community provides highlights on student learning, as well as current and future bond projects. So if there's anybody who did not get the report to the community from our board, speak now. We'd like to know that everybody got theirs. Great, perfect. And just to kind of reinforce what I had said about seniors, as a final note, as we enter the final week of the school year, I just want to express appreciation for the work of our students, staff, and families and community as we've navigated through such a unique and challenging year. As we know, staffing and substitute shortages, layered mitigation measures, and performing in-person work in the midst of a global pandemic have created an unprecedented amount of stress on everyone. And also thank you to the board for your steady hand and thoughtful consideration as we work together to lead our school district this year. And that concludes my superintendent's report.
Thank you much, Superintendent Owens. Would you like to introduce the next report?
Absolutely. So next up, we have Director Paul Southerton, who will be giving us an update on the sports complex.
Thank you, Superintendent Owens, and I'll do a quick check here to make sure everybody can see my screen. Thumbs up. Excellent. Thank you so much. So I'm pleased to provide this update to the board and our audience members. I'll start by just kind of giving a refresh of the current situation of the sports complex and the specifically the grass fields. Centennial High School is one of the only high schools in the region without an all-weather field. Current conditions of the stadium field in particular require extensive maintenance because the crown of the field is at or over OSAA regulations of 24 inches above the sideline height. So that means if you're standing on one side of the field and you're at the middle of the field, you're 2 feet higher or more than folks at the edge of the field. We have ongoing drainage issues with the field, and the lack of a full-size practice field causes extensive wear to this field during football and soccer field. Many of you may be aware we don't have the facilities to have full-size practice fields at that campus. Practicing on grass, but playing away games on turf is also a disadvantage for our student athletes as they don't compete necessarily on the same fields that they practice on. And grass fields cannot be fully utilized by our physical education or gym classes and other programs as frequently as needed due to the wear and tear of the fields. At the direction of the board, the administration, working with RNC management, issued an RFP for services to develop a strategic plan for the Centennial High School sports complex. The RFP, or request for proposal, was issued and Robertson Engineering was awarded the contract for the strategic plan development and design and engineering if necessary. The strategic plan included researching several options and configurations for our 34-acre campus, which includes the building, the parking, and all the associated facilities, including the maintenance yard and busing area. It also included 4 hours of interviews with coaches, PE instructors, and principals representing student athletes, coaches, PE students, and school leaders. Site tours of similar facilities that Robertson Engineering had completed in recent years were visited, including the Evergreen High School campus and their recently completed sports annex, Kiggins Bowl in Vancouver, and Columbia River High School fields. As a reminder, the strategic plan identified 6 areas of opportunity for our fields and our sports complex. This includes a multi-purpose field supporting track, soccer, and football in the center here, stadium and seismic facility updates to the facility that was built in 1967, additional secure bus parking in place of the lot that was sold, improvements to the baseball infield and potentially outfield areas, and softball as well. Lastly, they identified additional soccer field as potential area of additional all-weather multi-purpose field opportunity. They provided several options for us, and the following highlights the various strengths or pros and cons and aspects of the options. Option 1 presented the idea of having a large stadium multi-use field that would support soccer and football, allowing the widest soccer field in the stadium and moving pole vault next to the tennis courts. This would provide bus parking to the south of the stadium in this area, spectator parking to the north of the tennis courts, seismic improvements and cosmetic improvements to the stadium, moving baseball and softball to allow for additional expansion of parking or support for transportation and maintenance, and a future multi-use field just west of the high school gymnasium area, which could be used for physical education classes, as well as provide a JV or junior varsity field. Option 2 similarly provided a stadium multi-use field. It, however, kept baseball and softball in their existing locations and keeps pole vault inside the track to allow spectators to watch that event as they're watching other track and field events, which is appealing for that sport and supports those student athletes rather than relocating them. This provided additional bus parking to the west of the stadium and possible expansion to the north of the tennis courts, and highlighted the opportunity for a future large lighted multi-use field in the southwest corner of the campus, which would feature a varsity soccer field and a practice football field and a JV baseball and softball field all in one. Also highlighted opportunities to turf the full baseball and softball fields. Option 3 presented again the similar multi-use stadium field. This would again relocate pole vault to another location in between these two fields. You can kind of make it out here just south of the multi-use or varsity baseball field there. Bus parking to the next to the tennis courts or to the south of the stadium. There's a little bit of parking in here and over here on the tennis courts. And again, a future large multi-use field that would support this time side-by-side football and soccer, although this would be a JV soccer field side-by-side. So varsity would have to be maintained in the main stadium area. And again, relocating softball and baseball. The consensus when discussing all the options with the stakeholder groups and the constituencies that they represent was to propose moving forward with the further development and refinement of a modified option 2, which allows for the stadium multi-purpose field, the widest field in soccer while keeping pole vault inside, which is, you can kind of see it's subtle, but it's down here on the side. Bus parking expanded to encompass much of the facilities yard with additional parking over here in the north of the tennis courts for officials and participants, spectators. Seismic and cosmetic improvements to the stadium, and the future large multi-use field that would feature varsity soccer, a full practice field for football, and junior varsity softball and baseball athletic fields, including lighting. And then we would also, they're proposing that we would do turf for the varsity baseball field and the varsity softball field as well, but they would remain in their current locations. There were several discussions around phasing and what this would look like. It is considered a strategic plan that would take place over many years and be funding dependent. Phase 1 was proposed to be the stadium multi-use all-weather field, surfacing the track and field pits, designing the bus parking to replace the parking lot that was sold, designing and building, the seismic upgrades to the stadium, and upgrades to the restrooms, locker rooms, and team rooms underneath the grandstands or stadiums. Oops. Phase 2 was proposed to be building out the large multi-use all-weather field in the southwest corner of the campus, featuring varsity soccer, JV baseball, and JV softball, as well as a JV football field and practice field. This would allow the expansion of our teams to practice more often, more frequently, and more teams to use to be able to use the fields, including possibly a third team for baseball and softball. We only currently have 2 teams, and allowing more opportunities for our student athletes to participate. We would also look at adding complex-wide sports, complex-wide storage facilities, improve spectator seating and bleachers adjacent to the new all-weather field, and improve the concession stands. Phase 3 is tentatively proposed to replace the baseball and softball grass fields with all-weather artificial turf fields, add covered hitting cages, and improve spectator seating and bleachers, as well as adding or improving concession stands. The next steps in the process for the strategic plan, is to continue refinement of the modified option 2 plan. We expect to be back reporting to the board on June 22nd with a finalized phasing and cost estimate for this plan. After that, it will be up to the board to consider providing direction to the administration if you wish to authorize the administration to proceed with phase 1, 2, or 3 and identify a funding source. Once the administration receives direction from the board and funding is determined, the administration would then solicit a fee proposal for phase 1 or 2 or 3 from Robertson Engineering for the design, engineering, construction documents, and management of the phases identified. And with that, I know it's a lot of information and exciting opportunities of what could be. I welcome any questions you may have.
Any questions? I'm trying to keep an eye on everybody here. Oh, Director Shields, please.
I have 2 questions, actually. We've been talking about the all-weather fields as it relates to football. Hadn't heard anything before about softball or baseball. You also mentioned, as it was related to football, that we're the only conference place where we're still turf and they're going to all-weather turf. Is that true of baseball and softball?
I think if I might ask if Chad is here. I don't want to misspeak still, but is Chad Smith, our athletic director, still with us?
You should have kept him.
So I don't want to speak out of pocket, but generally speaking, it has been our understanding and experience that soccer and football are by far the majority of folks that have switched to all-weather fields, primarily to the fact that they are largely the fields that are used by multiple sports in the same season. That's a wet season, typically in the fall. And so just the overall use, if you will, that those fields receive are a lot, as you can imagine. Baseball and softball are becoming more and more common. We just visited the school district, and they have 12 fields that are softball, baseball within their district, and they have 4 what they call rectangle fields, which are multi-use soccer or football within their district. So by far, they have more of the baseball diamonds. And it was mentioned on our tour that, you have Little League and youth sports and others who want to use those fields as well. And so when you have a field that allows multiple teams to use it during the same season, then that just expands the opportunity for the community, right? It's no longer just the varsity team, single team that can use it. The JV team can use it. The community team can use it. Other folks can use it, and you don't have as much wear and tear because you have those fields. So anecdotally is all I can offer, that we are seeing it more and more often with the baseball diamonds as well and the softball diamonds as well.
If I may jump in really fast as a baseball parent, it is definitely something that we've seen. A lot of the fields that we travel to are turf fields, and when you have a spring like this one, it's very hard to get games in, because even if on the day it's not raining, there's usually puddles standing in the middle of the field. And so it would be sunny, and the boys would, and girls, I'm sure, all want to play. So Other questions? That's great.
I have an additional one if I
Please.
may. When you come with your proposal, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, one of the things I didn't see, and as a major concern of mine, is the maintenance piece that we're taking on. And it's huge what we're taking on. And so it's not just the amount of money that it's going to take to get this done, but what we're going to have to set aside on either a one-time, situation, or factor in how we're going to do it on a yearly basis to create a fund to be able to now, not just the football field, right? Because again, that was my thought. And I get what Rose was explaining to us, because all my kids played baseball and softball, and we know in Oregon, for heaven's sake, would make sense to have an all-weather turf for those sports as well. But it also means there's going to be more money that needs to be set aside. And we've heard different amounts over the years that we have had this discussion. So I don't think the discussion is complete without having the discussion about a maintenance fund and what it's going to cost for 3 or 4 or however total number of fields that will be all weather. So I appreciate that being included so that the board really knows, especially as we're contemplating where this money is going to be coming from, how much it's going to be now, and start to set aside for our future.
Thank you.
Mr. Shields, I appreciate you circling that question. If I may, I'd be happy to offer some thoughts I have on that. Thank you. So as you may recall, the board did pass the athletics facilities special revenue fund at the recent meeting. And it was with this expressed interest, not for turf field as any in particular single project, but with the overall idea of being able to maintain our athletic facilities, understanding the critical connection that these co-curricular activities have for our student athletes to be remaining to be engaged in their academics as well as their athletics. I think Superintendent Owens has shared, he wasn't particularly engaged in school, and then he got involved in water polo, and it really kept him having a strong connection to his high school academic journey. And certainly we can all agree that it served him well as superintendent now to our district. While that might be somewhat unique, I don't think it is in the outcome so much as returning to be superintendent to your district. I don't think it's unique to the experience that our student athletes have in their connection to their academic studies and their academic connection to schools. Being a student athlete requires attendance requirements be maintained to participate. It requires grade levels requirements to continue to participate in athletics programs. So it really just, in my limited experience that I've seen, provides that much of a stronger bond to the community and to the district for our student athletes. So the special revenue fund is a great opportunity to look at ways that we can support this and other programs in the future. And it is supported entirely by gate fees right now. It's currently designed, so it's not diverting anything from academic programs or other programs. It provides, though, an opportunity for the athletics community, both internally to Centennial and then the broader Centennial community beyond the district, to consider renting out our fields if we have all weather fields, and then those monies could go into fund replacement. Offering additional opportunities for hosting meets and other events, expanding the number of events we can have at our home facilities, thereby expanding the gate fees. So it is, as the business manager, that your comment is very near and dear to my heart, because I get requests all the time for money for improvements to facilities. And I just really appreciate the board approving that special revenue fund and having the foresight to say, hey, if whatever we do, we need to be able to support it in a durable and long-term way. So it's not just a one-off that's then going to be in disrepair years from now. So with that funding and with the continued support of the board and the continued support of our athletic community, I feel like we have a great plan to be able to support our facilities going forward that we really haven't had in the past. So thank you for the opportunity to provide that comment.
Any other questions?
I'm just excited to see the progress and see what we come next.
Same. It looks great. Thank you all for this work.
Thank you. Director Southerton, I do have one quick question, and that has to do with the timeline. It depends on if we approve it. Is there potential to have any teams displaced, or are we trying to work ways around having that happen?
A great question. And what I've tried to share with all our stakeholder groups that are impacted by projects, whatever they may be, is that there will always be impacts. And so part of our steering committee includes our football coach, our soccer coach, our track coach, our PE teachers, our soccer coaches, our softball coach, and our baseball coach has been invited but unable to attend at this time, but we're engaging with their needs as well. And just understanding, the needs of all those programs, and then when would be the best time. And there's not a great time, but it will be probably a shared impact. It looks like what they've proposed tentatively is June. June would be a start month, whether it's next year or a following year, depending on, or 5 years from now, depending on when funding and the board directs us to proceed. June would be the start time, and then that would impact almost the entire football season. But that is their preference, and that's the football coach and track coach and soccer working together, understanding that it's the long-term, greater good for the academic student or the student athletes and the athletic program.
Thank you. Great presentation.
Thank you.
Appreciate all your work, Director Southerton. Next, we're going to welcome CEA President Alicia Brown to share an update from CEA. It looks like they may be in the attendees. Pam Jordan, can you?
Yes, I will get to it right now. I'm working on it.
Hello. I'm going to leave my camera off tonight because if you can probably hear that I'm a little bit sick. I came down with a bad cold. It's not COVID. I did the rapid testing and it's not COVID, but it's something that my kid brought home from school. So I've been out for the past few days and might take tomorrow too, because I'm still feeling pretty cruddy. So I will leave my camera off and spare you all the hot mess that I am right now. I'm going to be very brief today. I don't know if I've told you guys yet, but I am not going to be the CEA president next year. I have a lovely person who is going to be taking over for me. Amanda Kassab is going to be taking over as president for next year. I've really enjoyed my time as president, and I feel like we've made some real gains in board relations, and we've been able to build some relationships there, and that's been really great. I really appreciate all of the hard work that everybody does in this district, and it's really been my pleasure to be a leader in the district, and I will continue on. I will serve as past president for a year and mentor Amanda, and also I'm going to be treasurer for next year too, so I get to play around with all the money, which is cool. And I believe Amanda is here. I would like to have her say a few words and introduce herself. Pam, can you put her up to panelist also, please?
Sure, I'll get to that right now.
Thank you.
Hi, I think I'm unmuted.
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Hi, I'm Amanda Kassab, and I'm not sure how to turn my camera on, so sorry about that. but I just wanted to say hello and introduce myself and share. I'm really excited to be coming on and to follow in some big shoes and footsteps. I'm looking forward to continuing the relationships that have been built with the board and administration, and just what's coming moving forward. So thank you so much. I look forward to working with you.
Thanks, Amanda. Amanda has previously served in CEA leadership as a building rep, and she has most recently been treasurer, and she's also been an OEA RA rep. So she's done lots of cool things, and she's gone to conferences, and she's got lots of experience in union matters. So I'm very confident that she will be a good person to pass the torch to. So with that, I will sign off and go and take some more NyQuil.
Thank you so much, Alicia, for all of your hard work and dedication. Welcome, Amanda. I look forward to working with you.
Yes, thank you, Alicia. Feel better, sweetheart. And then Amanda, welcome. I look forward to working with you as well, too.
Excellent.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Next, please welcome and promote to panelist OSEA VP Chris Dowell. Is that right? To share an OSEA update.
Chair Sawalski, I was told that Vicky Nelson was going to show up. I don't know if we have a representative at this point.
Can you get... Okay. Looking over.
Apparently, we do not.
Okay. Excellent. Can you excuse me? Can you please get the dog out of here? Okay. Offer her a treat and get her out of here. We're having dog issues. Thank you. Next up on the agenda, let's see here. Confirmation items. Okay. It looks like, do I have any, sorry, totally, that the dog threw me for a loop. Do we have, can I get an,
Motion to approve all confirmation items as listed.
Second.
Oh, I love you guys. Excellent. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Did we lose David?
Yeah, I think you've lost a quorum.
We lost a quorum.
He's in the attendees.
Okay.
Okay, I'll make that right. Apologies. I don't know how that happened. So.
I'm back.
Excellent. Thank you. So where did you leave us?
At the end of the CEA presentation, but I heard as an attendee, I did hear the motion in the second, and I have no questions.
Excellent. So then let's see, all those in favor, let's do that one more time. Raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. The ayes have it. All those items have been moved to confirmed. Moving on to board action items. we will first hear any old business. And I just lost my agenda. Apologize. Let's see here. Eleanor, can I have my phone? All right, let's see. All right, board action items. I'm up to date on my agenda here. Old business. So it looks like we've got 7.1.1 bond approve award of mechanical improvements at CHS, CMS, OEPV, and BC.
Thank you, Chair Solowski. I'm happy to present that the administration and RNC management group is recommending approving the award of the multi-site mechanical repairs, ventilation improvements, and control replacement projects to the low bidders Northwest Control Company and Delta Connects for $1,977,900 and $592,753 respectively for the following 5 schools. Northwest Controls Company, or NCC, would be awarded Butler Creek, Oliver Middle School, Pleasant Valley Elementary, and Centennial High School. Delta would be awarded Centennial Middle School. The district hired Engineering Economics, Inc., a design and engineering company, to assess the existing mechanical conditions and design the repairs to the systems, as well as replacement of old pneumatic controls with a new direct digital control building management system for better energy efficiency, operation, diagnostic, ventilation, and comfort control. The bids are within the $2.6 million allocated in the bond project budget for this phase of our mechanical improvement projects. We are also designing upgrades and further ventilation improvements beyond the bond scope that will leverage our ESSER funds, or American Recovery Act funds for schools, up to $1,350,000 approved by the Oregon Department of Education and included in the Centennial budget to further enhance ventilation and comfort for staff and students. These upgrades and improvements will be priced by the awarded contractors and potentially awarded above the base contract pending review and approval. It is recommended that the Board of Directors approve the award of the construction contract for the multi-site mechanical repairs, ventilation improvement, and control replacement project at 5 schools to the low bidders, NCC, for $1,977,900 and Delta for $592,753, and to designate authority to the superintendent or their designee to utilize in-project contingency funds throughout the course of the project, and to further authorize the superintendent or their designee to utilize ESSER funds up to $1,350,000 approved by the Oregon Department of Education and included in the Centennial budget for additional upgrades and ventilation improvements above and beyond the bond project scope.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Director Southerton. Can I get a motion to approve the award of the mechanical improvements?
So moved as presented by Director Southerton.
Second.
Fantastic. Let's go around the horn with any questions. David, do you have any questions? No.
Nope. Just happy to see it coming along.
All right, Director Shields, do you have any questions?
Yes, but I'm going to, Director Southerton, I'm absolutely approve of this, but I will ask you some questions probably later on. I'm just a little confused about the use of the ESSER funds, the combination, not in any way objecting, but just maybe you will have to help me understand a little bit more at a later date.
Certainly, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Vice Chair Fuller, do you have any questions at this time?
Nope, I'm really excited to see this come along. Thank you all.
Excellent. Let's go ahead and take it to a vote. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
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 Aye. That is unanimous. 7.1.1 has passed. Now we move to new business. We need to take a short break while we move into executive session pursuant to ORS 192.660. James, please.
We were going to move into executive session after 7.2.3.
Oh, thank you. I'm just reading that note now. This is my first time following along in board book instead of having the printed page in front of me. So there's a little adjustments that I'm making. So I appreciate that. 7.2.1. Oh, this is the big one. Let's adopt this budget. Director Southerton.
Thank you, Chair Salowski. And I will attempt to share my screen. Let's see if I can get a thumbs up here. Wonderful. Thank you so much. So I'm pleased to be back here tonight with you to discuss adoption of the 2022-2023 Centennial School District budget. So just a little cover of where we'll go today. So I want to review the budget process as well as reviewing feedback and engagement received. I'll review for the board and the attendees with us tonight the adjustments to the approved budget in the adopted budget. And then the board will have an opportunity to take action, including considering a motion to adopt the budget, tax rate, and bond levy payment, and then deliberating and potentially voting. So I'm pleased that we engaged in a robust budget process, which included engaging with our various schools, board, community members, and budget committee work group to establish district priorities. This took place between January and March of 2022, earlier this year. The administration then drafted a proposed budget and presented that to the full budget committee in April of 2022. Thankfully or gratefully, we're so appreciative of the engagement of the committee. They provided extensive feedback, asked great questions, and made additional recommendations to the administration. The administration incorporated many of those changes and recommendations and provided an updated budget to the budget committee in May of 22, at which time they received the budget, heard testimony, public testimony, deliberated, and approved the updated budget, tax rate, and bond collection amount. It's now an opportunity for the board to consider the final approval and adoption of the budget this evening. Some further discussion or just sharing on the feedback we received, the administration and the finance office engaged with our community-based budget committee, school leaders, staff, and the public throughout this process, including two public budget meetings. We received and answered more than 100 questions, both written and at meetings. And we received recommendations, including increasing opportunities for community use of facilities on nights and weekends, updating how school information was presented in the budget, and adding supports for human resources directed at supporting staff and recruitment and retention. We do have a couple of adjustments from the approved budget by the budget committee versus the adopted budget the board is receiving tonight. Those adjustments include changes to the special revenue funds, which also impacts the general fund. Specifically, we're recognizing the recently created board reserve special revenue fund funded by the surplus property proceeds. We also have an additional special revenue fund adjustment, and that's recognizing the recently created athletics facility fund, which you heard me speak earlier about with the sports complex update. It's funded entirely by the gate fees from sporting events. We do have some changes to an adjustment to the grant fund as well, which recognizes Centennial School District's allocation for House Bill 4030, which is directed to recruit, hire, and retain linguistically and culturally diverse staff, as well as retaining existing staff and supporting students. This is what those changes look like. So you'll see the approved budget in the left-hand column. You'll see the change in the center column, and then the adopted budget in the right-hand column. The change you'll see is recognizing the proceeds of the sales of the surplus property, both in the beginning fund resources and then transferring them to the board reserve fund. a little bit lower. And I'm not sure if folks can see my cursor, but I'm happy to try and point that out to make it a little bit clearer. You also notice that by the creation of the board reserve fund, it allows us to transfer in the first payment for the projectors that were authorized and paid for by the board reserve account of $72,000 next year. The $72,000 did come from the existing fund balance. And so the net change that you're seeing is $99,600,000 for the total budget requirements. And again, that's the estimated proceeds for all the bond surplus, or excuse me, I misspoke, the surplus property sales that are in the board reserve account. It is an estimate at this point in time because, as you're aware, we do have one property that is currently pending sale, and we don't know what that final amount is. And so it's estimated at $9.6 million currently. This creates the board reserve page in the adopted budget book, and this is what that page will look like. You'll see at the beginning that we're estimating the board reserve fund will receive $90,000 in interest on the balance of the board reserve accounts. And that's because it's proposed, like our other funds in the district, for funds that are not needed for immediate cash flow needs to be placed in the LGIP account or the government pool investment account, which is a low risk, somewhat low return, but safe investment for our funds. We also have $5,000 estimated for the heavy equipment rental tax. You may recall GASB 54, which is the government standards, requires us to have an outside source of funding for any special revenue account. So this was identified in the motion or in the resolution that the board approved as the outside funding source for this fund. You'll see the transfers of the board proceeds, or the proceeds from the real estate sales, surplus property, and then you'll see the transfer of the projector payment. We also have some estimated requirements or expenses that may be needed next year or may be identified by the board. Important to note that nothing is authorized without further board action. This identifies the possibility that the board may have some improvement projects they want to utilize some of these funds for, and simply allows that within the budget. This still requires board approval, direction of the projects, and authorization of the spending. The next adjustment is with the athletics facility fund. You'll see that there again, the left-hand column was the approved budget. The fund did not exist when we were engaging with the budget committee. It's only recently been approved by the board. So the change is the $30,000 in the estimated athletic fees admissions that will go into the accounts. There are no estimated expenses, so the reserve for next year is $30,000, and that's what's being proposed in the adopted budget. Lastly, we have the grants fund. Again, approved budget by the committee left-hand side, change in the center here, and adopted on the far right. We have recognition of the revenue Centennial expects to receive from House Bill 4030, and then the recognition of the expected expenses for House Bill 4030 grants. That's the only change in the grants fund. Next step for the budget process is to receive questions from the board and for the board to deliberate on considering a motion to adopt the budget, tax rate, and bond levy. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you so much, Director Southerton. At this point, we should probably take a motion to approve before we start discussion questions. So can I get a motion?
Motion to approve the budget.
Second.
Excellent. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
If I may interject,
Please.
it may be best for me to share my screen. It is recommended that the board adopt the 2023 budget, appropriate funds for the 2022-2023 academic year, and categorize and levy the ad valorem taxes as described in the resolution. And I'm happy to bring up the resolution as well for folks.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Director Shields, did you have something to add?
Just that if there are any questions, and I had one.
Okay.
As we're doing this, just as a reminder, Director Southerton, any changes, you can't make any wholesale changes, right? You have to have some anticipated, and then in the line item for House Bill, the House Bill as an example, it's the money in, the money out. And so what you're proposing is what we have been discussing, right? And yet, as you also mentioned, we would have to come together and have a specific discussion about how those monies would be made. And my question and concern is that we're getting the establishment process done, and we're doing well on that. But we haven't got process questions and policy questions. And so that's got to come on the heels of this pretty quickly, because we need a framework to be able to guide not only this board, but the boards to come as to what the thinking was of what the use of the funds are. We've discussed it a lot, but there should be some kind of a policy statement, and we need to work on that. It doesn't impact the vote tonight. I'm totally in approval of what you've done and how well it's been done by you and your staff. But I just want it noted that when you say we're going to come back and talk, let's come back and talk about that framework that we need to help guide us for these expenditures in the future.
So noted, Director Shields. Thank you very much. All right, now let's see, there's a motion and a second. So can I get a show of hands? Say aye if you approve.
Aye.
Aye. Excellent. That's unanimous approval. Actually, make sure I'm doing all this right. Questions? Now is there discussion or questions? Correct? No, we're good. I'm sorry. I actually am sick with COVID, and so I'm really just trying to be present. Thank you all. We got the budget passed.
You're doing fine, Rose.
Let's see, 7.2.2. Consider purchase amount for LA ELD adoption materials.
Okay. Good evening, Board of Directors. We are seeking your approval for the purchase of our curriculum adoption for language arts and English language development. Our initial quotes came in from the designated publishers totaling approximately $1.9 million. As of this morning, we've been able to save under $700,000 for an estimate of $1.25 million. There are a few things that are still in process before we can actually confirm the cost of the materials. One is we're still negotiating and working with the high school curriculum between the language arts department and the publisher. We're also processing the needs for our students with disabilities with Denise and her staff to ensure that they have the adequate materials as well. And then finally, items that are typically negotiated are consumable materials, professional development within the contract, and then digital licenses. So with that, given the information, we're recommending an approval of no more than $2 million for the K-12 language arts and English language development curriculum materials, knowing that it is coming in significantly lower, but that was what was on the board note when I submitted that. And that's all I have. So
excellent. Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Director Shields.
Just, it also goes back to the other approval that we've had with digital materials and the consumables. Someone could correct me, but I think we got in trouble once with the fact that we didn't budget enough money for consumables, right? Like paper, printing, what we needed to do logistically for the printing. Has that all been taken into consideration this time around? And knowing that you can't, well, you certainly can't do and know what we went through and the changes that needed to be made.
Right.
But do we kind of have something as a buffer in there for the consumable piece?
The consumable piece is really what folks, as we were working with teacher groups, it's it would not be cost effective to purchase the consumables because there's not going, teachers are expressing that they don't need to use everything in the consumable. And so at the same time, also working with ITC about how do we have adequate use of the copying so that it's appropriate. We have digital materials now, we have devices. And so really starting to shift towards how do we use those devices appropriately and in the classroom so that we don't need to make a lot of copies. So that I would say is a work in progress. And we have an opportunity to really change that during implementation of the materials. I imagine it's going to be a bit of a, that's probably a 1 to 3 year shift to really build confidence and knowledge and skills around the devices so that we feel confident to do that.
Thank you so much. Director Lynn, do you have any questions?
Only more about the process long term, but I can follow up with that at a later time. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chair Fuller, do you have any questions?
No, not at this time, but thank you, all that you're doing, Calendar. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Excellent. At this point, I will ask for a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Purchase amount of the adoption materials. Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
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 Aye. That's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, 7.2.3, screening of board vacancy applicants. As I've not been part of this process, my intention is to pull up the applications and share them with this team. Is that appropriate? And talk about it, or
I'm sorry, you cut out. What was the question?
So we're going to be looking, we've got 2 applicants for the board vacancy position. At this point, since I'm new myself, I haven't ever been through this process. So do I pull up their applications? Do we talk about them? What information are we looking for? Director Shields, please.
In times past, we've received the recommendation, or excuse me, the applications, and have, as we have here, have the opportunity to review what is written. We usually do need to talk about the questions and process that we'll use for the interviewing. Not so much about the application itself, but what do we want to work through in terms of the questions for these people that have applied. The other is that oftentimes we have had board members do, or the chair in particular, reach out to applicants so that they have a clear understanding of what board work is and some of the expectations that may be coming with it, so that when they come to the interview, they're a little bit better prepared. Because when we ask questions about, your contribution to the board, and they haven't had an opportunity to even ask a few questions to somebody prior, it's helpful for them to set the tone and the comfort level for the applicants as well. So really, we should be looking at process for our next meeting. Is that correct, when we're doing the interviews?
Yes.
And maybe what we could share, and we could share this via email communication, just what we have used, and because we've used it pretty recently, what we've used, and then if board members had additional questions or concerns, maybe we could address those to you as you lead us through the process at our next meeting.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. All right, at this point then, let's see here. So does anyone have any recommendations for changes to the process since the last appointment of a board member?
Nope.
Great. So
James, real quick question. I want to make sure that so let me make sure. So from this point on, now that we have decided that we don't really want any changes done, what is the next process of going forward?
Yeah, so what I could suggest here is that I'm looking as we speak into board book to see the questions that were asked last time. Last time there were 4 questions at the end of the week. I can forward these to the board in my regular communication with you so that you can review them. Chair Solowski and I will meet next week. And so if there's any feedback on the questions between my Friday email and when we meet on Tuesday, I would suggest that maybe the board members contact Chair Solowski and me to let us know if there's anything that you suggest look different question-wise. And then you may consider as a board at this point entertaining a motion to advance both applicants or either or applicant to interview phase at the 22nd board meeting.
Okay. Awesome. With that being said, and I'm guessing the applications are closed and these are our only applicants. I don't have a problem. So, hold on. There was that. Oh yeah, that's what it was. Oh wait, never mind. He ended up answering the questions. Never mind. So yeah, I don't have a problem pushing them forward, both of them. So I motion to approve both of them to push forward to the interview process.
Director Shields.
My only question would be is that in the applications that we're seeing in board book, there are no addresses. And one of the things that we would need to consider is verifying that these are district residents. I'm going to assume they are, but it is prudent to have that information verified. And when you, if we move to approve, the motion is presented, we move to approve with an understanding that these 2 applicants are
Centennial district.
Yeah, they're members of our community and in our district, right? I mean, that was the only.
Those complete applications did go out in previous communication from Superintendent Owens. I'm not sure why they're not complete in board book.
Dr. Shields, the reason that the information is not complete is because we did not want to share information with people who did not need to know addresses and information that could be taken and used inappropriately. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes, it does. In fact, after the verification process, I would state that even us as current board members with our SEL 190s out there with our names, addresses, phone numbers is inappropriate. So during these times, so I appreciate the fact that that's been taken care of prior to having them in a public document as this would be. So thank you very much for doing that.
Yep. Much appreciated. Director Lynn, did you have something to add?
Oh, no, I was just adding it was on June 3rd, the email in question.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right. I motioned, right?
You motioned. I haven't heard a second.
Second.
All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Excellent, unanimous. We will be moving these 2 candidates forward to interview at our next board meeting. We'll have the 4 interview questions. I will be reaching out to both of these candidates between now and the end of the weekend to just check in with them and understand, make sure that they have an understanding of what that looks like. Thank you so much, Director Shields, as always, for your guidance. All right. Let's see here. Next up. All right, so now is, at this point, we need to move into an executive session.
Will there be a separate Zoom link for the executive session, or will all attendees be exited? What is our process for the executive session?
Unfortunately, because it happened so quickly, we had not discussed that. We can move into a different link, or we can ask people to leave and hold the executive session.
I think my preference would be to move to a separate, if it's not hard to do.
Send us a new link in our
Yes.
emails, and then
I can do that.
so would we come together maybe at 8:15? Give a little time for maybe a break, plus Pam Jordan the opportunity to pull it together for us.
Yeah, let's say 8:20.
Okay.
We'll reconvene 8:20.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.